Shalom, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to our study of God's Word in Syriac, a distinctly Christian dialect of Aramaic. Today we're reading from the Peshitta, which is the simple, straightforward translation of the Hebrew Bible into Syriac. The text that we're looking at here is from the Mosul Bible in ancient Syriac. It's found in the Antioch Bible set. We're studying the book of Exodus, chapter 1, verses 15 through 22, where we encounter two women named Shiphrah and Puah, Hebrew midwives, whom God used to preserve his people. So let's dive in. I'll read in Syriac and then translate as we go. Wemar Malcha de Mitzrayim, and the king of Egypt said, L'chayatha evra yatha, to the Hebrew midwives. Dashma dachta Puah, and the name of the one, Puah, Washma dachritha Shufra, and the name of the other was Shufra. It's called the linea occultans. You do not pronounce that. It preserves the aleph as a morphographemic vestige. So you can see what the letter is, but it does not affect pronunciation. You do not pronounce it. So, and the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, the name of the one, Puah, and the name of the other, Shufra. Wemar lahain, and he said to them, Ma dehawyan tain Mao Lavan La'ev Rayatha. And he said to them, when the Hebrew women are giving birth, Hawaii Thain Chazyan. See Ma when Debarkan, when they are bending down. En dekra, and then you just put the wow at the end of this word, because that linea occultans means do not pronounce the hey. If it is a boy, why thain katalanle, kill him. Wayne nekbatha, and then we could say thigh at the end. Wanekbatha. If it is a girl, Hawaii Thain Machyan la, let her live. So if it is a boy, kill him. If it is a girl, let her live. Verse 17. Wav chel chayetha men Allaha. And the midwives feared from God. That is the Syriac word for God, Allaha. Sounds like Allah, doesn't it? It means to be elevated. So in a way, Islam kind of hijacked that term to refer to God, but it was there in the Syriac before. In fact, Elohim derives from Eloah, which means to be elevated. The midwives feared from God. Wala Ivav Ak Demar Lahain Malacha de Mitzrayim. And they did not do as the king of Egypt said to them. Wamachyan, why? Talia, and they let the boys live. Wakra Macha de Mitzrayim, and the king of Egypt called L'chayatha to the midwives, Wemar, and said to them, that's called the Hendiadys. He called and said, he called them. Hendiadys 1 through 2. Hendiadys 1 through 2. One single idea through 2 words. He called and said. So he's beckoning them and speaking to them. It's kind of a singular act in the mind of God in the Aramaic Bible. And he said to them, Metul mana of the thing. Why did you do pethgama hana? Why did you do this thing? That's the common word for thing in Syriac. Or as they say down south in America, thang. Hana. Why did you do this thing if you're from the south? So I'm trying to make this applicable to many different regions of students. Why did you do this thing? Wachithain talaya, and let the boys live. Verse 19. When Mar Chayatha La Paru, and the midwives said to Pharaoh, La, why ak nashe metzrayatha evrayatha? The women of Egypt are not as the Hebrew women. So Pharaoh would have been acquainted with Egyptian women, and the midwives, Shifra and Pur, are saying, well, the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women. Metul da chayatha ene, for they are lively. Wa Allah Allahain chayatha yalav yan. And when the midwife enters to them, they're giving birth. So as soon as the midwife gets there, they're already giving birth. So they made up this story to explain to Pharaoh why the male children were living. That the Hebrew women, were so lively that they already gave birth, and the job was there, and there was nothing they could do. So they basically lied to save the lives of the ewes. So verse 20. Watev alaha l'chayatha, and God did well to the midwives. Metul de evav pethkamahana, because they did this thing. Was ye ama, what wa kef tav, and the people grew and became very well. Verse 21. Wehwa dekav dechel chayatha. And it was when the midwives feared men Allah, feared God. Avad lahain bate. And he made for them houses or households. So he gave them families of their own and gave them children and so forth. Wa pa ked parun. And Pharaoh commanded Likule to all the Gama people and said, Kul bara, every son, Dimethi lave, every son that is born, Bana Ra, and daughter, Tashruneh. 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 Tashruneh is a very interesting word. This is the word for river, Nahra. In the river, Tashruneh, you will throw him. But every Barta, every daughter, Achun, let live. So, every Bara, you remember the word bar from Psalm 2, verse 12, the Aramaic word for son. Every son, da metiled, that is born, Banahra, in the river, Tesh Runet, throw him. Wakul, but every Barta, daughter, Ahun, let live. So, for this early stage in your Syriac studies, there's a lot in here that is instructive. You're seeing a lot of genitive constructions. You're seeing a lot of different verbal forms, but you get the kind of flow of the language. It's very beautiful. You're starting to hear the sound of it. We're just getting started here in our Syriac studies, but may God give us the spirit of Shifra and Pua in that we're fearless of man, but we do fear and honor God. And we do what it takes to honor Him. I'm not saying that we should go out and lie, but to have integrity, to do the right thing despite pressure and opposition. God used these women to save the nation of Israel, basically. And, Shifra and Pua perform functions that is attested in ancient Egyptian. They were heads of obstacle guilds. So they represented probably many women that were involved in this. And so they led well. They led the opposition to the commandment of Pharaoh. So this is a good example of leadership as well. They weren't just two midwives helping all these women give birth, because we know, there are about 3 million Israelites at this time, so about 600,000 women or so. That's too many women for two midwives to handle, so they would have been leading other women in this conscientious objection to the commandment of Pharaoh. So there's a big lesson in here for us today that God calls us to have courage and to do the right thing, even amidst severe and very dictatorial kinds of things that fly in the face of what will please God. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and let's continue to enjoy our Syriac studies together.